Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalists, and in this video we're going to be talking about Zippo versus IMCO, the traditional Austrian lighter manufacturer back in the day. Before I get started with the video, a couple announcements. Remember, today 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be talking with Matt Bracking about everything going on in the world. Things are getting heated and quite complicated. Guys, there's a huge concern in terms of the economy, in terms of the inflation, food prices, and basically prices on everything next year are expected to skyrocket. And I have to advise my book again, The Modern Survival Manual, Surviving the Economic Collapse, based specifically on that kind of scenario. Remember, back in 2001, the economy collapsed in Argentina, and that's what the book is based on, my experience there when all that went down. And it is complicated. It is, it's not easy. It's not just about having a bug out bag and having a couple little things and you address that. No, it's about poverty. It's about money just not making it to the end of the month and everyone being in that same scenario, and because of that the social and political consequences of it are huge. That's what I talk about there, and I would say it's a good idea to get it and start reading up and preparing for it if you haven't done so already. So having said all that, and I'll leave the links below as I always do with my books and with some of the lighters, whatever it is that I find. I don't always find everything that I'm talking about in the videos, but anything that I do, I'll leave the links below, especially for some of the cooler lighters if I can. So, this is my first Zippo. I was actually talking with my wife about this. This is the first Zippo I ever bought, and it's still going strong. Zippos are great lighters. This was actually my EDC back in high school. I had my Zippo lighter, and I had my pocket knife, a Spanish pocket knife that someone brought from Spain, maybe my grandfather or my folks when they travel at some point. Anyway, I somehow ended up with this knife in my possession, and I had this for pretty much most of high school. This is what I had. There was a couple more that I used, but this is maybe the one I used the most. At different times, I actually use it whenever it was needed. Even teachers, if they needed to cut something, they knew I was a kid with a pocket knife, and they would always borrow it from me whenever they needed it for something. Different times, different world, things are changing, not for the best. But this was my EDC back then. I had a mag light, but those these are pre-LED times, so those had incandescent light bulbs, and they burned out constantly, and the light was honestly pathetic. So Zippos are great, nothing bad to be said about them. The thing though is the weakness that you have in a Zippo is basically this hinge. This is the point where it can easily break if you're not careful. Now, if you are careful, the Zippo will last you a lifetime and more. This is something that been with me for over 20 years, and I'm not using it anymore as much, but for a long time, this went for me. This was EDC for me before EDC even existed. But I was careful with my stuff. I still am, so that's why it lasts. Having said all that, just soon after I got my Zippo, I saw one of these. I saw this one in that same store. Or was it the same store? Well, maybe I was buying lighter fluid or something like that. But I saw this one and I was curious about it. As always, curiosity, gets the best of me. And what is that? How does it work? And yeah, these were called, maybe still are called carucitos, and these are just the Chinese copy of IMCO, of the original IMCO lighter. IMCOs are very interesting, and they've been around even before Zippo. The first is IMCO, I believe, came out in 1907, and for Zippo that was 1933. If I'm mistaken there in the dates, correct me there in the comment section, but I'm pretty sure that's about it. Anyway, so these were before Zippo. Now, if you haven't seen any of these, and the company is no longer working, if you're curious about this sort of stuff, IMCO in Austria has gone out of business, especially because of the Chinese knockoffs. So they've gone out of business already. They've been out of business for a while now. They sold the brand IMCO to a Chinese company, and now there's a IMCO made in China, and it says it comes from Austria or some nonsense like that. But they're not. I mean, they're original because they own the company now. They own the name, but they're being made. Not the company. They own the brand, the name, and they're being made in China. They're not all that bad. I guess I'll get one and try it out, but I like the original one. ones. So the last ones that IMCO produced were the Triplex Super 6700, the junior model, and a streamlined model that I have over there that's a bit like intended for women, I guess, like more flat and more like shaped like a little Zippo, but flatter. That makes it more, you know, easier to carry in a smaller pocket, I guess. But the original one is gonna be about these, you know, the junior and super, triplex super are maybe the more popular ones. So which one is best? Well, that's kind of easy. The best one is IMCO by far. In terms of lighter, that's simply the way it is. Zippos are great and they're very good lighters, and especially with the designs, I just love those. But if you're looking at just the mechanics of it, this is better. If you haven't seen one of these before, you just open it and it's, you know, ignites as soon as you open it, so it's faster, I guess. That would be an advantage. The mechanism on the inside seems complex, but it's just all metal and it's very rugged. This one has gone into the washing machine more times than I can remember, but it has just a spring that's putting tension on the flint, right? It also has a little pocket there for a spare flint, so you can have a spare flint there. The Chinese ones, I don't think they say IMCO there on the inside. And yeah, when you open it, you have your flame, and you can somewhat adjust that flame with this windshield. Allows more air to flow in, or if it's very windy, you can close it out. And then on the other side, you have your fuel tank wick, and yeah, you just fill it up over there. Then that's it. That's how your IMCO works. And it's very efficient. I mean, that would be one of the big advantages, you know, talking about which one is better and why. I feel these are more rugged mechanically. They're less fragile. I don't guess, you know, this is not all that complex. The hinge is probably the thing that breaks the most with people that are not all that careful, especially if you drop it when you're using it. This, if you drop it while using it, really not much can go wrong. But one of the big advantages these have is that they will last about twice as much as your Zippo. So if you're putting fuel in both, and I actually tested this a few years ago, lighting it for, you know, once a day, lighting it. I don't smoke, so that's something I just had to test. Couple seconds each day, and the Zippo, at least for me, lasted 2 weeks. The IMCO lasted for a bit over a month, if you can believe that. It's amazing how well they hold the fuel in there. I guess it's because they have that little cap that just covers the wick, so there's not as much air making contact and evaporating each time you use it. I guess something like that it may be going on. So this is a big advantage. Just gonna be lasting twice as much as your Zippo, which the fuel is just evaporating. Some people put like a rubber band. I get it, but it's really not all that convenient. Now, the other huge advantage that you have with your IMCO is that you can use it as a candle. Just pull the tank from underneath like that, and you use it like a little candle. So if you have to start a fire, you can reach better, right? If you have to use it as a candle, or like, you know how they do in the movies with the Zippo, they go around like using it like so, but you're kind of gonna be ruining your lighter. Here, it's really not a problem. It just heats up a little bit, but even stands like a little candle. If you have to burn a little bit of paracord or soften some plastic or get a fire going, you can do this with the insert the tank of your IMCO, and once you're done, you just put it back in there and it self-extinguishes, ready for next time you need it. So that's pretty awesome and quite unique of IMCOs. I think it's a lot more versatile for a prepper. Definitely, I see the advantages here. You see how they do in the movie, especially the classic Indiana Jones, which this is inspired on, the Clover Leaf Lucky Charm Elsa Zippo. You know, where he goes about using it as a source of light. But you're gonna be heating up, and you see those marks. That's from a kid that actually was messing with it. Back in school, someone was not being that careful and burned a little bit of that finish. But if you let it overheat, you're gonna be ruining the flint. You're gonna be ruining the wheel and maybe even the springs on the inside. So it's really not intended to stand like a little candle. Even though you see it in movies, if you actually do it for real, there's a good chance you're gonna be messing up your Zippo pretty badly. Having said all that, as of today, the best one is the Zippo. Well, so why is this turn of events? Well, because today you have these inserts that make it a lot better. The insert uses just typical butane while still retaining the wheel and flint. So if you have a little bit of cotton and you run out of fuel, you can still start a fire if you put your mind line to it because you have those sparks going on there. On the meantime, especially for someone that doesn't smoke, this is going to be lasting years. I have several of these and they've lasted years without needing to be refueled if you're not using it up. If you do, you can adjust the flame a little bit there, refill it over there, traditional flint there. And it uses this mechanism by which you open the lid and it starts, gas starts coming out. When you close the lid, gas stops coming out. And that's what I have in the Zippo that I use the most by far. Looks very traditional, but it's using gas, and that is awesome. Again, I'll leave the link below there. Comes under different brand names, Trustfire or Surefire, not Surefire, but the Ultrafire or Wildfire. Anyway, whatever it is I find. There's also this other one, and look how cool this lighter is. This one uses the torch kind of flame. This is a little bit more delicate. If this breaks, you're not going to be getting any sparks out of it, but you have more of a stronger flame, I guess. So if that's what you need or that's what you want, I'll leave the link for that as well over there. Folks, that's all for now. Remember, today 3 p.m. Links below for lighters, books, and such. See you on our next video, folks. Have an awesome day. Take care.